Hi, this is Michael Connors, and I'm at the Global New Energy Summit here in Colorado Springs. And I'm speaking with Dana Christensen, the Deputy Lab Director for Science and Technology with NREL. And Dana spoke earlier today. And Dana, we're talking about energy, new energy policy, trends and challenges in the industries. And just a couple of quick questions for you. I'd love it if you could highlight some of the projects that NREL is currently involved with.
Well, the laboratory is, of course, given the mission of renewable energy development and energy efficiency development work. So our charter is to work with technologies in the solar, the wind, geothermal energy production areas, as well as the grid, moving these type of technologies efficiently onto the grid and out into the distribution system, and then working with the demand response side of the grid in energy efficient buildings technology, helping to implement technologies to move electric vehicles, for instance, into the marketplace. Of course, embedded in that are technologies like energy storage. Mm-hmm. So we have a large energy storage technology base as well. So we're funded to do that by the Department of Energy.
Okay. And during your talk, you also talked about some of your international collaborations with other countries. Are there international models that you're trying to replicate, or certain programs that you see as really promising that may be able to be duplicated here in the States?
Well, we work with a lot of countries, and in particular, it's institutions there. So a lot of laboratories in other countries, a lot of European laboratories, for instance, that are doing the same type of work that we are. This is, as you might imagine, a fairly small business area. The people that are working in this business area all know each other, and they happen to be sprinkled around the world. Mm-hmm. And so for us to actually move the technology as rapidly as possible, we need to have those partnerships with the institutions around the world. Now, we also find that there are a lot of educational institutions, universities and that around the world who are putting out very good, very high quality students. And so we end up hosting a lot of those students in our own laboratory in postdoc positions and in graduate student positions, and that just naturally brings the faculty members from those institutions along with them. So we develop those relationships as well. Last, I'd say the partnerships with industries in other countries. Many of that is a natural evolution of the work we do here in the United States, because for the most part, companies are international. So if we're working with a company here on brand new wind technology, for instance, that company has either got business sites elsewhere in the world, or they've got manufacturing plants around the world. So what we're doing to help advance the technology is going to enhance the technology base all over the world at the same time.
Okay. And that actually brings up my next point, which I think is really interesting, that it seems the industries are working really well on a micro level, working together, being very innovative. And you touched on this in your remarks, that what we're lacking is a cohesive energy policy. What do you think are some of the major barriers towards creation of a more cohesive energy policy?
So energy is inherently an international issue, and in fact many of the problems that we're trying to deal with, such as carbon emissions into the atmosphere, no one country can deal with that themselves. It has to be an international effort to tackle energy sustainability and energy availability. It's an international effort. So part of the problem with policy is every country's got its own unique policy, its own special interests. And so where you have some countries that have central governments and they can move very quickly in moving a technology forward, we see China, for instance, moving very rapidly and being able to build wind technology manufacturing, solar manufacturing. That's a result of having central government decision-making, and they can push incentives out into their own populace in order to move technologies quickly. We, of course, are in a democracy, and there's an awful lot of discussion about what the market has to drive the technologies, in essence, is where we're at. And that is inherently slows things down just because of the tug and pull in the marketplace. There are other countries, South Korea, for instance, which is a democracy, but it also has central control over its decision-making. It moves very rapidly as well. So there's this variety of policies that come out from the different countries, and finding the harmony between those policies is probably the largest barrier in it being able to move technology rapidly.
Okay. And then one other thing in the technological area, I'm really curious, can you talk about one or two advances in technologies that you're really excited about?
Sure. I see that we're moving from a point where biofuels held a promise but in particular alcohol from digestion of biomass, held a promise of replacing a certain amount of liquid fuel in our transportation system. Our transportation is almost totally dependent on petroleum, and in this country we import fully half or more of that petroleum, and so our transportation system needs to have a liquid fuel or a replacement fuel that will be able to overcome that dependence that we have on foreign sources of those fuels. One of those was biofuels. We're at the point now where we have 10% of our gasoline is ethanol-supported gasoline. To go much further is going to take significant investments. And it's going to take investments not just in the vehicles but in the infrastructure to move that fuel. So what I see is on the horizon, the near-term horizon, is moving from a drop in alcohol to truly a drop in hydrocarbon, where we can use those bio-based sources of feedstock, make them into molecules that look much more like petroleum, and be able to refine those molecules and make the fuels out of them look much more like gasoline or diesel or jet fuel. In that way, we can overcome the need to do major changes in our infrastructure, because we already have infrastructure compatible capability for those existing fuels. I see on the near-term horizon drop in fuels that look much more like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel will be available, cost competitively available. Now, in the electricity area, we're working very hard to reduce the integrated cost of solar manufacturing and deployment to the point that it can reach grid parity. We can deliver electricity at the same price as grid electricity. And it's a combination of things. It's an integrated system that you have to work on in order to do that. It's just not the conversion materials, but it's the package manufacturing, the power electronics, and the deployment out in the marketplace. Okay. That's going to be a big move that we see in the near future.
Okay. And then one last question, just kind of being in media, I'm curious concerning energy policy or concerning energy. Are there questions that you think just aren't being asked by the media that need to be asked? Points of view that just aren't really being exposed?
Well, I think the market, in particular the United States, tends to get caught up into these discrete technology discussions, and so we talk about solar PV or wind, maybe even offshore wind as opposed to onshore wind. The real question should be asked, what are we doing about integrating these technologies together so that we can build a suite of technologies that can solve our problems? There is no silver bullet out there for any of these energy problems. And so looking at it from a much more systems point of view, why are we not looking at how we can hybridize renewable energy with nuclear power, or renewable energy with natural gas, or natural gas with nuclear power? These hybridization of systems, I fully believe that's where we're going to find the economies of scale in the future.
Okay, great. Great, well, thank you very much.